Our top story, Russian leader Vladimir Putin met with his North Korean counterpart Kim Jong-un at a space center in the far east of Russia today, with a possible arms deal up for discussion. Putin is thought to be running low on artillery rockets and other weaponry in his war against Ukraine, and Kim has a vast arsenal that he may be willing to sell. In return, impoverished North Korea is desperate for foreign currency and help in developing nuclear technology. Arise News chief correspondent John Cookson has the story.
This is the handshake sending a chill through Western capitals. Putin and Kim are not natural allies, but both have mutual interests and could serve each other well. First stop, a guided tour of Russia's Vostochny Space Center. Kim is struggling to make progress in his space program. He tried to put a spy satellite into orbit twice in the past 6 months and failed. Eyes in the sky would enable North Korea to plot attacks better, and he's hoping Russia may share the technology. And so down to the serious business, and Kim told Putin that Russia was fighting what he called a sacred war with the West, and together they'd fight against imperialism. Asked whether the two will negotiate an arms deal, Putin would only say that all issues were on the table. So why were the pair so keen to meet? North Korea is one of the world's biggest nuclear powers in terms of weaponry and soldiers. Kim is thought to have 30 million artillery rockets in his armory, more than enough to help Putin's dwindling stock in his war against Ukraine. Impoverished North Korea would welcome the foreign currency it would earn. And it was surely no coincidence that North Korea fired 2 short-range weapons like these over the waters of the Korean peninsula today, indicating Kim's military power, even though he was over 1,000 kilometers away in Russia. So, did they conclude an arms deal? Neither side is saying, but what we do know is this newfound friendship of convenience could have a serious impact on the war in Ukraine and further ratchets up tensions between East and West. John Cookson, Arise News.
And John Cookson joins us live now from London for more. Thank you for being on the show, John. The last time we spoke, we were trying to figure out if he was indeed going on this trip, but now it looks as if he's gone and he's on his way back home. Do you think he and Putin have done an arms deal with Russia?
It's hard to say at the moment, although the smoke signals from that part of the world indicate that possibly yes. He is, as you say, on his way home in his armoured train. Incidentally, they finished the evening, and I love these kind of details. Putin and Kim, they finished off the day dining on duck salad, crab dumplings, fish soup, sturgeon with mushrooms, followed by berries. I just find that kind of minutiae so strange. Where here we have a couple of characters who could blow us all to kingdom come dining on duck salad. Anyway, to get back to the big question, did they do a deal? We'll only know in coming weeks and months when Putin's ammunition either do increase or he doesn't get any more ammo from anywhere in the world. He's producing as much as he can at the moment. Putin gave an interview to local television afterwards, after the meeting, saying that there had been an open exchange of opinions and there were opportunities for bilateral military technical cooperation. So, and then the Kremlin spokesman, Sergei Peskov, said that the meeting was important and substantive. So my reading of all that diplomatic meanderings is that probably a deal was done, but as I say, we won't know yet until further down the line. And it will also include possible deals on Russia supplying Kim with nuclear technology. Kim wants nuclear submarines, and Russia can help with that. So this newfound friendship, this friendship of convenience, if you like, because, as I say, they're not natural allies in the great scheme of things, could work out well for both sides.
It might, indeed. Well, but John, why have both sides said very little about the meeting afterwards?
Well, remember, Russia's at war, and he likes to keep the world guessing, and he doesn't want to give away military secrets. But I think one of the other reasons is that nothing will happen without China's say-so. President Xi, all powerful, he wasn't there, but he was there in the background, and only he can sanction what North Korea can do. North Korea is a client state of China, and to a degree, Xi has to agree with Putin, all these issues that were talked about today. So that takes time, and it'll be debated in privately between the three leaders and their so-called Sherpas endlessly in the coming weeks and months. So I think that's one of the reasons why there's so much secrecy, is that China has to approve any shipment of arms from North Korea to Russia. And incidentally, how is North Korea, even though it has 30 million artillery rockets, 30 million, I mean, it's just incredible. If that stock gets depleted, China will undoubtedly resupply. So we have this situation where China has promised not to supply Russia with weaponry, but it could well be that China supplies North Korea then supplies Russia. And can NATO complain too much about that? Because NATO countries are supplying Ukraine. So the principle of it, NATO is going to have difficulty disagreeing with.
All right then, John, if North Korea does supply artillery rockets and other arms to Russia, how will the West react? Remember, they had already said they were watching this trip very closely.
Very closely indeed, and there'll be a lot of hand-wringing and table thumping by the West, saying you can't do this, and the threat of sanctions. But in discussing this, North Korea is absolutely rammed with sanctions already, and still, she gets by. It's the impoverished people of North Korea who suffer because of sanctions, not Kim and his clique in Pyongyang. So, and also the West doesn't want to see the collapse of the North Korean economy, which could so easily tip over, because that would cause a huge crisis in the Far East, and not only for the rest of the world, but for China too. So there's only so much the West can do. I mean, they can slap on some new sanctions, but in that part of the world, there's always a way of getting around it, and China will fill in the shortfall if there's any for North Korea.
So you don't really think, John, that it would be, significantly destabilizing to the world order if, in the Far East, based on what's happening with the Kim and Vladimir Putin meeting?
Oh, this is big. I mean, as we discussed before, the world is changing hugely, and power is shifting to the east. It's a huge challenge to America and her allies. And when Kim talks about fighting imperialism, what he means is fighting the US. We know that China it's not if, but when it's going to invade Taiwan, possibly in 2027. All this is going to happen. China is expanding hugely politically, economically, militarily in the Far East. And now we have this triumvirate emerging of China, Russia, and North Korea, all of them nuclear powers, all of them armed to the hilt. And it's extremely worrying for the West.
All right, then we'll continue to monitor this story. Arise, senior correspondent John Cookson, thank you for being here.